The shuttle's hull screamed as it tore through the atmosphere. Lieutenant Danny Garrett gripped the controls while red warnings flooded every screen around him. His co-pilot was dead. Half the crew was dead. The alien boarding party had made sure of that before he'd managed to seal the airlock and dive toward the planet below. Come on, he muttered, fighting the stick as gravity clawed at the damaged vessel. The crash came hard. Metals shrieked, his harness dug into his chest. Then silence, broken only by sparking wires and his own ragged breathing. Danny unclipped himself and grabbed the emergency kit. The rear hatch was jammed, but the side panel blew open with one kick. He stumbled out into purple grass beneath two moons and a sky the color of burnt copper. Something moved in the wreckage behind him. He spun, raising the plasma pistol he'd pulled from the kit. A figure emerged from the smoke, tall, impossibly tall, 7 feet at least. Her skin shimmered like oil on water, shifting between deep violet and midnight blue. 4 arms, each ending in delicate fingers. Her face was angular, almost crystalline, with eyes that glowed faint gold. She wore armor, scorched and dented, but clearly military. The same armor he'd seen on the boarding party. Danny's finger tightened on the trigger. She raised all 4 hands slowly. Empty. No weapons. They stared at each other across 15 feet of alien grass. The wind carried the smell of ozone and something sweet he couldn't name. "You speak Standard?" Danny asked, keeping the pistol level. Her head tilted. When she spoke, her voice was like wind chimes. "I comprehend your language. Your friends killed my crew. Your vessel fired upon our flagship. After you appeared in our space without warning." Her golden eyes narrowed. "These waters belong to the sovereignty. The colony ship we were escorting didn't know that." Smoke rose from the shuttle behind him. Any moment the fuel cells might blow. Danny took a step back, pistol still raised. She took a step forward. "Stay there," he warned. "The fire will consume us both if we remain." He knew she was right. The smoke was getting thicker, but every instinct screamed not to trust her. "Walk ahead of me," Danny said, slowly. "Keep your hands where I can see them." She moved with fluid grace, all 4 arms extended. They walked away from the wreckage together, human and alien, enemies by circumstance, survivors by chance. When they reached a safe distance, she turned to face him again. That's when he really saw her, not as a threat, not as an enemy soldier, and something in his chest went tight. The explosion came seconds later, a rolling boom that sent heat washing over them both. Danny didn't flinch, neither did she. They stood watching the shuttle burn, orange flames licking toward that copper sky. "My name is Calkethas," she said. "Scout Division, 4th Fleet." Danny kept the pistol on her. "Lieutenant Danny Garrett, Earth Colonial Defense. You fought well on your vessel. 3 of my strike team did not return." "Good." Her eyes flashed brighter for a moment. "You show no remorse. You started it. We were defending sovereign territory. We were escorting civilians who didn't know this system was claimed." Kael'taz lowered 2 of her hands but kept the other 2 raised. "This debate serves no purpose. We are stranded. My communications device was destroyed in the crash. Yours?" Danny's jaw tightened. The comm unit had been in the cockpit. Melted slag now, gone. "Then we share a predicament. We're enemies. We are survivors." She gestured with one hand toward the horizon where jagged mountains rose like broken teeth. "This planet is classified as hostile. Predatory fauna, toxic vegetation in the lowlands. Temperature drops to lethal levels after dark." "How do you know that?" "It is sovereignty space. We have surveyed data." Danny's mind raced. The emergency kit had a beacon, but it would take days for anyone to triangulate his position. If they even looked, the battle above had been fierce. His ship might have retreated or been destroyed. He studied Caelthus. She stood perfectly still, watching him with those unsettling golden eyes. Taller than any human? Stronger too, probably. If she wanted him dead, she could have tried already. "Why haven't you attacked me?" he asked. "Why haven't you shot me?" I asked first. Her head tilted again. That seemed to be her version of a shrug. "You are injured. Your species bleeds red, yes? Your left side." Danny glanced down. His flight suit was torn and dark with blood. He'd been so focused on survival, he hadn't noticed the pain. Now it hit him like a hammer. His ribs, something broken, probably. "I'm fine," he lied. "You are not. You require medical attention. And you're going to provide it? I have field supplies." She slowly lowered one hand toward a pouch on her belt. "May I?" Every training protocol screamed at him to refuse, to keep distance, to treat her as hostile until extraction. But the blood was spreading. The pain was getting worse. "Slowly," Danny said. Caelthus withdrew a small device, metallic and covered in symbols he didn't recognize. She took one careful step forward. Danny raised the pistol higher. "That's close enough. I cannot treat you from this distance. Toss it here. It requires precise application." "I must." I said toss it. She stopped. Those golden eyes studied him with something that might have been curiosity or amusement. Hard to tell with an alien face. "You do not trust me," she said. "Give me one reason why I should. Because if I wanted you dead, Lieutenant Danny Garrett, you would already be dead." She moved faster than anything that size should move. 3 strides closed the distance between them. One hand knocked his pistol aside, while another caught his wrist. The third hand pressed the device against his injured ribs. The fourth steadied him as his knees buckled from the shock. Cold flooded through him, then heat, then nothing. The pain vanished. Danny tried to pull away, but she held him easily. "Be still. The cellular regeneration requires 30 seconds. Let go of me. 20 seconds." He could feel her breath on his face, could see the patterns in her skin shifting like northern lights, could smell something like cinnamon and ozone. 15 seconds. His heart hammered against his chest, not from fear, from something else entirely. 10 seconds. "I have trouble speaking," Danny heard himself say. The words came out before he could stop them. "Because you're beautiful." Caelthus froze completely. All 4 hands went rigid. Her golden eyes widened. For 3 heartbeats, neither of them moved. Then she released him and stepped back so fast she nearly stumbled. Danny caught his balance, face burning. "I didn't mean to." "You find my appearance aesthetically pleasing?" Her voice had gone very quiet. "I shouldn't have said that. My species and yours are entirely incompatible. Our evolutionary paths diverged millions of years ago on worlds separated by vast distance. The very concept of 'I know, I'm sorry, forget I said anything.'" But Caelthus was staring at him like he'd just spoken in a language she'd never heard before. The device beeped. She pulled it away from his ribs with one hand while the others hung at her sides. "You should check your wound," she said finally. Danny lifted his shirt. Smooth skin, not even a scar. "How did you—" "Nanosurgery. Standard field equipment. Thank you." She didn't respond, just stood there, all 4 arms now motionless, watching him with an expression he couldn't read. Somewhere in the distance, something howled, deep and predatory and way too close. "We need shelter," Caelthus said. "Before dark?" Agreed. She turned toward the mountains. started walking. Danny grabbed the pistol from where it had fallen, checked the charge, and followed. Neither of them spoke about what he'd said, but everything had changed. The cave wasn't much, but it would keep them alive through the night. Thealtis had found it tucked into a cliff face, hidden behind twisted vegetation that Danny's scanner identified as mildly poisonous. She'd cleared the entrance with efficient movements, all four hands working in perfect coordination. Now they sat on opposite sides of a small fire Danny had built from dried wood. The flames cast shifting shadows across her face, making the shimmer of her skin even more pronounced. "How long can you survive without food?" she asked suddenly. 3 weeks, give or take. Water's the real problem. 3 days max. There is a river 7 kilometers north. I detected it during our descent. You have that good of memory? My species possesses eidetic recall of spatial information. Danny poked the fire with a stick. Must be nice. I can barely remember where I parked my car half the time. What is a car? Ground vehicle. For transportation, you still use wheels? The way she said it almost sounded like teasing. Some of us appreciate the classics. Silence fell between them. The fire crackled. Outside, the alien night was full of sounds, chirps and howls, and things Danny didn't want to think about. "Why did you say that?" Thealtis asked. Danny didn't need to ask what she meant. "I don't know. Heat of the moment. Humans do not typically compliment enemy combatants." "Yeah, well, I'm not typical, clearly." She shifted position, folding her legs beneath her in a way that seemed impossible for something with a humanoid frame. "In my culture, such statements carry significant weight." "What kind of weight?" "Among the sovereignty, aesthetic appreciation is the foundation of courtship rituals. To tell someone they are beautiful is to declare romantic intent." Danny's stomach dropped. "I didn't know." "I wasn't trying to. I understand human customs differ. Your words likely meant little." "I wouldn't say that." Her eyes snapped to his. "Explain." "I meant what I said. You are beautiful. But I wasn't declaring anything. It just came out." "Because you were injured, disoriented?" "No, because it's true." Thealtis went very still again. That seemed to be her default response when something surprised her. "This is problematic." "Why?" "Because I find your species visually interesting as well." Now it was Danny's turn to freeze. "What?" "Your proportions are unusual. 2 arms seems insufficient, yet you manage adequately. Your skin is uniform in color rather than shifting. Your eyes are quite small but expressive. The hair on your head serves no thermal purpose yet appears deliberately maintained." She paused. "It is aesthetically pleasing in an alien way." Danny had been shot at, nearly blown up, and crash-landed on a hostile planet. None of that had prepared him for this conversation. "So we both think the other looks good," he said carefully. "That doesn't have to mean anything, does it not? We're from different species, different worlds. We were trying to kill each other 6 hours ago." "All accurate points. So we agree this is crazy." "Completely irrational." They stared at each other across the fire. "I have trouble focusing when you look at me," Thealtis said quietly. "My combat training emphasizes emotional control, yet your presence disrupts my concentration. That's just adrenaline, survival instinct. I have survived many situations. This feels different." Danny knew he should shut this down, should focus on survival and extraction, and getting back to his own people, should remember that her forces had killed his friends. Instead, he asked, "Different how?" "When you speak, I find myself wanting to hear more. When you move, I calculate trajectories to remain near you. When you were injured, my priority shifted from self-preservation to your welfare. These responses are not tactical. They are not logical. They sound emotional." "Yes, And emotions are discouraged in the sovereignty military. We encourage them in ours, makes us fight harder, gives us something to protect. What do you protect? Each other, our families, the people we love. Keoltas tilted her head. Love is a complex concept. My species experiences bonding, but it manifests differently than human literature suggests. You've read human literature? Intelligence gathering requires cultural knowledge. I have studied your poetry, your films, your music. What did you think? Confusing, beautiful, violent, tender. Often simultaneously, she paused. Much like you, Lieutenant Danny Garrett. His name in her windchime voice did something to his chest. Just Danny. We're past the rank thing, Danny. She tested the name. It suits you. What do your friends call you? Or is Kealta this? Kealta is sufficient. Kal, he liked how it sounded. Sharp and clean. The fire burned lower. Danny added more wood. Outside, something screamed in the distance, closer than before. We should sleep in shifts, Kale said. The predators here hunt at night. I'll take first watch. Your injury is healed thanks to you. I'm good for a few hours. She regarded him with those golden eyes. Very well. Wake me if anything approaches. Kale moved to the back of the cave and settled against the stone wall. Within minutes, her breathing had slowed to a steady rhythm. Danny sat by the fire, pistol in hand, watching the entrance. But his mind wasn't on the dangers outside. It was on the impossible, irrational, completely insane feeling growing in his chest. The one that said maybe enemies didn't have to stay enemies. Maybe beauty could cross species lines. Maybe connection could happen in the strangest places. Maybe a human and an alien could find something neither expected in the middle of a war zone. The fire crackled. Danny kept watch and tried very hard not to think about how right it had felt when Kale's 4 hands had held him steady. Danny woke to the feeling of a hand on his shoulder. 4 fingers, cool and smooth. He hadn't meant to fall asleep, but exhaustion had won some time before dawn. Movement outside, Kale whispered. 3 signatures, large. He grabbed the pistol and moved to the cave entrance beside her. The twin moons had set. Darkness pressed in like a physical weight. Where? He breathed. She pointed with 2 hands simultaneously, different directions. There and there. The 3rd is circling. Can you see them? My vision operates in spectrums. Yours does not. That's convenient. Evolution on a world with minimal light. Her shoulder touched his. Warmth radiated through the contact despite her cool skin. They are hunting. What's the play? We cannot outrun them. Fighting 3 simultaneously is inadvisable, so we're trapped. I did not say that. Kale moved deeper into the cave. This formation is volcanic. There may be additional passages. Danny followed, using his pistol's light to scan the walls. The cave narrowed into a tunnel, barely wide enough for Kale's frame. She squeezed through and he came after, scraping his shoulders against rough stone. Behind them, something growled, low and rumbling and way too close. Move faster, Kale said. Not urgent, just factual. The tunnel opened into a larger chamber. Danny's light caught crystalline formations jutting from the ceiling like frozen lightning, beautiful and completely useless for escape. Dead end, he said. Kale was already examining the walls with all 4 hands, pressing and testing. No, there is air movement. A passage exists. We don't have time to find it. Heavy footfalls echoed from the tunnel. Multiple sets getting closer. Kyle turned to face the entrance. Give me your pistol. What? No. I have superior reaction speed and can aim with 2 hands while using the others for close combat. I'm not hiding behind you. This is not chivalry. This is tactical efficiency. The first creature burst through. Danny's light caught it full on, and he wished it hadn't. 8 legs, armored carapace. A head that was all mandibles and too many eyes, the size of a small car. Kale fired twice. The plasma bolts punched through the thing's face, and it collapsed, blocking the tunnel. That won't stop them long, she said. How many shots left? 14. Not enough. The dead creature shifted as something pushed it from behind. Kale fired again. Blind shots through the corpse. Screaming answered, alien and furious. Danny, the wall behind you, the crystal formation. Strike it. What? Strike it now! He turned and slammed his boot into the largest crystal. It shattered with a sound like breaking glass. Air rushed through the gap, cold and fast. Again! He kicked harder. The crystal formation collapsed inward, revealing another tunnel. Smaller, darker, but open. Go, Kale ordered. Not without you. She fired 3 more shots. I will follow. Move. Danny dropped and crawled through. The space was tight, claustrophobic. He heard Kale behind him, heard the creature screaming, heard more plasma fire. Then something grabbed his ankle. He kicked reflexively, but the grip was iron. Claws pierced his boot. He yelled and fired backward, awkward and desperate. The blast went wide, but the creature released him anyway. Kale's voice cut through the chaos. 10 meters ahead. I sense an opening. Danny crawled faster. His shoulders scraped stone. His ribs protested despite the healing. Behind him, Kale moved with impossible grace for something her size, firing backward while advancing forward. The tunnel ended abruptly. Danny tumbled out onto soft ground beneath open sky. Dawn was breaking, painting everything gold and red. Kale emerged seconds later. She pulled him to his feet with 2 hands while checking their surroundings with the other 2. The river, she said. We made it. Water rushed past 20 feet below, wide and fast. The cliff edge crumbled under Danny's boot, and he stumbled backward into Kale. She caught him with all 4 arms, steadying him against her chest. They stood like that for 3 heartbeats, her breath on his neck, his back against her armor, the river roaring below. You saved my life, Danny said. You saved mine first. In the chamber, guess we're even. I do not believe that is how debt works among humans. Something exploded from the tunnel mouth. Another creature, larger than the first. Its mandibles spread wide enough to bite a man in half. Jump, Kale said. What? She grabbed him with all 4 arms and leaped. They fell together into rushing water. The impact knocked the air from Danny's lungs. Current seized them immediately, dragging them downstream. He surfaced gasping and saw Kale beside him, swimming with powerful strokes. The creature screamed from the cliff above, but didn't follow. Are you injured? Kyle called over the water's roar. No. You? Functional. They let the current carry them, too exhausted to fight it. The river widened, the flow calmed. Eventually, they reached a bend where the water pooled shallow enough to stand. Danny dragged himself onto a sandy bank and collapsed. Kale emerged beside him, water streaming from her armor and skin. The rising sun caught the droplets, and she seemed to glow. That was insane, Danny breathed, but effective. You could have warned me before jumping. You would have argued. Damn right I would have. Kale sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders touched. You fight well for someone who claims his species values emotion over logic. We're full of contradictions. I am beginning to appreciate that. She turned to look at him. Water dripped from her face. Her golden eyes reflected the sunrise. You did not leave me in the cave. Of course not. Why, of course? I am your enemy. Are you? The question hung between them. I do not know any more. Kale said quietly. When that creature attacked, my only thought was protecting you, not completing my mission, not serving the sovereignty. You. Danny's heart hammered. Kale falls. This is unprecedented. My species does not form attachments to other species. It is not done. Humans didn't used to either. Then we met the Centaurians. Then the Helios Coalition. We learned your species is young, adaptable. Mine is ancient, set in our ways. Maybe it's time for change. She looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached out with one hand and touched his face. Her fingers were cool and gentle. You are very strange, Danny Garrett. You're pretty strange yourself. Yet, here we are. Yeah, here we are. The sun climbed higher. The river flowed. And two soldiers from opposite sides of a war sat together on an alien shore, connected by something neither could name, but both could feel. They walked along the riverbank as the day heated up. Danny's uniform dried in patches. Kyle's armor steamed slightly, releasing a scent like heated metal and something floral. My people will be searching for me, she said, after an hour of silence. Mine, too, if they survive the battle. When they find us, this ends. Danny knew what she meant. The fragile peace between them. The impossible connection. When rescue came, they would be enemies again. We could tell them what happened here, he said, and they would believe two soldiers abandoned their duties for personal reasons. We didn't abandon anything. We survived together. That is the problem. Kale stopped walking. The sovereignty does not forgive collaboration with the enemy, even under duress. Earth Command isn't much better. Then we agree. When rescue arrives, we were adversaries forced into temporary cooperation. Nothing more. Right. Nothing more. Neither of them moved. I do not want to lie, Kale said softly. Me neither. But the alternative is court-martial, disgrace, possibly execution for treason. Danny picked up a stone and threw it into the river. This is stupid. We're at war because of a misunderstanding. Your people thought we were invading. We didn't know the system was claimed. Nobody had to die. War is rarely logical. Then maybe it's time someone acted illogical. Meaning what? He turned to face her fully. What if we didn't go back? All four of Kale's eyes widened. You suggest desertion? I suggest survival. There's a whole galaxy out there. Neutral systems, independent colonies, places where nobody cares what species you are or which side you fought for. You would abandon your military, your people, to stop a pointless war? Yeah, I would. This is madness. Probably, but staying here until they find us, then pretending we hate each other, then going back to killing each other's friends, that's worse than madness. That's waste. Cal paced in a tight circle, all four arms gesturing. The sovereignty has fed me, trained me, given me purpose since birth. I cannot simply walk away, even if staying means fighting in a war you don't believe in. I never said you didn't have to. I see it in how you hesitate, how you keep trying to justify everything instead of just accepting the mission. Danny stepped closer. You're not like the others in your strike team. You ask questions. You feel things. Feelings are weakness. Feelings are what make us alive. She stopped pacing and looked at him, really looked with an intensity that made his breath catch. If I agreed to this insanity, she said slowly, where would we go? The fringe territories, beyond both our government's reach. I've heard stories, free traders, independent stations, whole worlds that don't answer to anyone. Stories from reliable sources, bar talk mostly. Excellent. We base our future on bar talk. You have a better idea? Kale was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something in her own language, musical and complex. Danny didn't understand the words, but he caught the tone. Resignation mixed with something that might have been hope. "What does that mean?" he asked. "It means I am considering becoming a traitor for a human I met yesterday. For the record, I'm considering the same thing. This is irrational. Completely. We will be hunted by both our militaries. Yep, we have no resources, no plan, and no guarantee of success. That's accurate." "And you are still suggesting this?" Danny reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. He took one of her hands in his. "Cool skin against warm. 4 fingers interlaced with 5. I followed orders my whole life," he said. "Done everything by the book. And where did it get me? Fighting people I don't hate for reasons nobody can properly explain. Maybe it's time I chose something for myself." "You choose this? Exile and uncertainty?" "I choose you." The words hung in the air between them. Kale's other 3 hands rose slowly. One touched his face, another rested on his shoulder, the third covered their joined hands. "I do not understand what is happening," she whispered. "My training did not prepare me for this. Mine neither. Yet I find myself unwilling to let you go. Sane. This violates every protocol. I know. We will be alone against both our species. We'll have each other." She made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. "Hard to tell. You are either very brave or very foolish, Danny Garrett. Can't it be both?" This time it was definitely a laugh, light and surprised, like she'd forgotten how. Then the sky screamed. Both of them looked up. 3 ships tore through the atmosphere. 2 had sovereignty markings. 1 bore Earth defense insignia. "They found us," Kale said. "Both sides." The ships circled like predators. Weapon ports opened. "They weren't here for peaceful extraction. They are going to destroy each other," Kale said, "and us along with them." Danny's mind raced. The ships were focused on each other. Not the ground yet, but that would change the moment someone fired. "The cave system," he said. "It goes deep. If we can reach it before they start shooting, they will track our signatures. Not if we're underground. Not if we go deep enough." Kale looked at the ships, then at Danny, then at their joined hands. "We run now. We cannot go back. Ever. I know. You are certain?" The lead sovereignty ship locked weapons on the Earth vessel. The Earth ship's shields flared. "I'm certain," Danny said. "Then we run." They ran. Behind them the first shots lit up the sky. Plasma met kinetic rounds and brilliant explosions. The battle they'd escaped had followed them here. But Danny and Kale weren't part of it anymore. They were something else entirely. Something new. The cave network went deeper than either of them expected. They descended for hours while above them the battle raged. Explosions shook loose stone. Dust rained from the ceiling. But they kept moving, kept pushing forward into darkness lit only by Danny's dying pistol light. Finally, the sounds of war faded to nothing. They emerged into a massive cavern where bioluminescent fungi covered the walls like stars. An underground lake stretched before them, perfectly still, reflecting the blue-green glow. "It's beautiful," Danny breathed. Kale released his hand and moved to the water's edge. "There is an exit on the far side. I can sense airflow." "How far?" "Half a kilometer." "Maybe more." Danny checked his pistol. 3% charge. The beacon in his emergency kit had been lost in the river. They had no food, limited water, and both militaries hunting them. "We should rest," Kale said. "Regain strength before continuing." They settled against the cavern wall. The fungal light cast everything in shades of blue and shadow. Kale sat close enough that Danny could feel the heat radiating from her despite her cool skin. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. Choosing this path? Ask me when we're not being hunted. That may be never. Then ask me never. She turned to look at him. In the strange light, her skin shifted through colors he had no names for. Her golden eyes held something vulnerable. I have a confession, she said. What? When you said I was beautiful? In that moment, I did not freeze from shock. No, I froze. Because no one had ever said such a thing to me before. In the sovereignty, aesthetic compliments are transactional, political, empty. She paused. But your words felt true. They were true. I know. That is what frightened me. Danny shifted closer. And now I am still frightened. But I am also grateful. One of her hands found his. You gave me something I did not know I wanted. Choice, freedom, the ability to define myself beyond my orders. You gave me the same thing. Then we are even at last. I don't think it works that way. No. I think we're past keeping score. Cal made that sound again. The one that was almost a laugh. My people have a saying. The path walked together is never walked alone. That's pretty good. We have one too. Two is better than one in a fight. Less poetic. We're practical people. I am beginning to understand that. They sat in comfortable silence. The lake lapped gently against stone. Above them, maybe the battle still raged. Maybe their people searched the wreckage. Maybe they were listed as casualties or deserters. It didn't matter anymore. Where will we go? Cale asked. Truly, not bar talk. Real plans. There's a station called Haven's Edge. Neutral territory. Traders from 100 species. No questions asked if you can pay. We have no currency. We have skills. I can fly anything. You can fight. Mercenary work or security. Protection details. Honest work that doesn't involve killing for governments. A simple life. Simple sounds good right now. Cale leaned against him. The weight of her was solid and real. I never imagined this future. Me neither. But here we are. Here we are. She lifted one hand and touched his face again. Danny Garrett, you have changed everything. Kyle, you did this. Her face inches from his. Is this permitted in human custom? This proximity? Depends on the humans. And you? I'm okay with it. Good, because I find myself wanting to be closer still. How close? Instead of answering, she closed the distance. Her lips met his, cool and soft, and tasting of something sweet he couldn't name. One hand cradled his face. Another held his shoulder. The third and fourth wrapped around his back. Danny kissed her back, gentle at first, then deeper. His hands found her waist, her back, the strange, beautiful planes of her alien face. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. That was... Cale started. Yeah, should we... Definitely. They kissed again, slower this time. Learning each other, human and alien, enemy and ally. Two people who chose each other over everything else. When dawn came, they would leave this cave and start their new life. They would face hunters and hardship and a galaxy that might not accept them. But right now, in the blue glow of an alien cavern on a world neither could name, Danny and Cale had something more valuable than orders or duty or loyalty to distant governments. They had each other, and that was enough. The war would continue without them. Ships would fight. Soldiers would die. Diplomats would argue over territory and pride and 1,000 other meaningless things. But two people who should have been enemies had become something else, something better, something worth fighting for. Danny pulled back and looked at Cale in the strange light. Ready for whatever comes next? With you? Yes, even if it's dangerous. Especially then. He smiled. You know, for an enemy soldier, you're pretty amazing. You are not so bad yourself for a human. They stood together, hands joined, facing the dark tunnel that would lead them to freedom. Behind them lay everything they'd known. Ahead lay everything they'd chosen. And as they walked into the unknown, neither looked back.